Hi everybody, this is Lloyd McNair. This is my theory of action diagram. I actually did this a couple different ways and then thought this would probably be the best way to graphically represent how we need to move or the whys and why we need to move forward. And so in the center of our diagram here is the target that was gleaned from using the district profile information and looking through all of our data, which suggested that some of our subgroups, specifically our special education subgroups and our ELL subgroups, were performing at levels lower than their similar aged peers. And so that was my focus and what drives this theory of action. So the first step, identify the goal, improving academic outcomes of all students. Now, some of those graphic representations actually work backwards. So I had the steps and then work towards the goal. I kind of let everything flow from the center, which was represented in some of the models that we looked at. Within that, the first key is professional development. So aligning professional development to support the district improvement plan and answering the 4 essential questions of PLCs, which are, what do we want students to know? How will we know if they know it? What will we do if they don't know it? What will we do if they already know it? So I'm going to focus specifically on the first 3. In order for us to gain any sort of traction or momentum in effectively addressing those first 3 questions, we have to support and cultivate leadership, using intentional strategies to group building principles around best practice and instructional leadership. So providing key feedback to teachers and their instructional practices. Building leadership that evaluates the use of best practice in collaboration with other instructional leaders. So instead of doing it on an island, making it collaborative and evaluating what is best practice and how to capture that and take that other places. The next piece, developing the capacity of teachers and instructional staff, which is different than, obviously, than the building leaders, but they're also leaders in their own right through the development of common assessments, common learning goals, common planning time, and systematic intervention. So these are the components of those first 3 questions and how we address those and how we start to build capacity of our teachers through the networking of other instructional persons and practices and a similar planning time. The other piece of that is to support our students who are most in need. So as we start to teach and we identify students that don't know it, and we're responding to the what do we do if they don't know it? So when we have students who are demonstrating challenges in the classroom that are connected to behavior or navigating any aspects of the hidden curriculum, we have to support those students and capture as many students as we can with school-wide approaches. But those approaches won't reach all students. And so then we need to get more specific with targeting resources for the students and staff most in need. So evaluating the data, where are those students at, and then getting them the resources, the tertiary resources that they need, the higher level resources that they need. The next step, so we have those programs. Now we need to evaluate it, and it needs to be systematic. And that can't be just through district level perceptions. It has to come through teachers as well. So in evaluating those programs, we have to prioritize in a way that relates to student need and student learning. But those prioritization pieces or those evaluation pieces should be done in connection with teacher feedback and student learning outcomes, directly tied to student learning outcomes. The next piece would be the way in which those interventions are utilized, the fidelity of those, with a focus on early intervention. So all the data that we look through, or I look through, my district improvement goal took me back to journal articles that we used to help identify those areas that we needed to target And so everything that I looked at suggested that early intervention was the most, where you got the most bang for your buck. So, and that's why I chose to include a focus on early intervention, but not in lieu of interventions systematically throughout the district. And some of the strategies: peer mentoring, academic supports, tutoring, common assessments, and student profiles driving decisions about what kinds of interventions we're using and the length of the intervention. So again, going back to evaluating how effective are those interventions and then using that in the program prioritization process. And that's it. So hope you guys are having a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.